Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky there, just wrapping up his address to the Danish parliament. To talk a bit more about that with me now, let's bring in France 24's Philip Turle. Philip, another very strong speech from Volodymyr Zelensky. He started talking about these 40 missiles per day that are falling on Ukraine and ended by asking the Danish to put a candle in their homes tonight to remember the dead.
Well, it's something that many people in Denmark do on a regular basis. When they're expecting friends around, they will put a candle by the door, in the window, as a sign of friendship and solidarity. And I think that's what Volodymyr Zelensky is asking all Danes to do, to remember those who've fallen, those who've died, those who've had to sacrifice their lives as a result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Yes, an address to the Folketing, as it's called, the Danish parliament. And we could see there Mette Frederiksen, the Danish prime minister, who's a social democrat, at the front. This is the latest in a series of addresses by the president of Ukraine to parliaments around the world. Last week he was talking to the National Assembly in Paris. He's also talked to the British Parliament in London, to the European Union. He's made an address to the United Nations, all part of the media battle to try to gain support for Ukraine. And I think some very hard-hitting figures being put forward. I think more figures in this speech than we've heard in many of the others. I'll just give you a few of them. 370 missiles so far used by Russia in this war. Another city hit, Nikolaev, this morning, 7 dead, 22 wounded. 773 universities and schools have been hit by missiles. 10 million people have left their homes in Ukraine. 4 million have left the country. 90% of the buildings have been destroyed in Mariupol. These are all figures being put forward by Volodymyr Zelensky during that speech, and saying basically two things. This is a crime against humanity. How can there be justice in Europe when we cannot come up and fight against crimes against humanity committed by the leaders of Russia? This is evil brought to our land, and it's a black hour for Ukraine. And I think that the black hour for Ukraine is synonymous with that candle being lit as a form of light for the future, and quite adamant in the fact that the Ukrainian authorities are going to win this war once the fighting comes to an end.
And Philip, as you mentioned, this is just the latest in a series of speeches given by Volodymyr Zelensky around the world, or to parliaments and others around the world. Of course, all of this is happening as negotiations are underway, the first face-to-face talks in weeks happening today in Turkey. Do we see any sort of headway anywhere in this conflict at this point?
I don't want to be too pessimistic, Jeannie, but I don't think we're going to see much of a breakthrough in these new talks that are taking place today, principally because I think Vladimir Putin himself doesn't believe that he's made enough territorial gains in Ukraine to make it worthwhile for him to come to the negotiating table. And many people are saying that these talks are just a smokescreen being put up by Russia, while on the ground the attacks continue, the effort to try to capture more area continues. It's true to say that this war has not at all gone the way that Russia wanted it to go at the beginning, and Vladimir Putin may be rethinking his battle plans at the moment, as he given up on the idea of capturing the capital, Kyiv. Is he more keen now to get control of the east of the country, maybe to split it into a Korean-type situation, North and South Korea, with part under the control of Russia and part still under the control of the Ukrainian authorities? All of these are questions that we can't answer right now. But I think that while Russia believes it can make more gains on the ground, it's not going to come to the negotiating table just yet. And there's no sign that, despite many calls to the contrary by Volodymyr Zelensky that he would like to meet Vladimir Putin in person to reach an agreement, there's no sign from the Kremlin that Vladimir Putin is anywhere ready to do just that at the moment.
Philip, thank you so much for that. That's France 24's Philip Turle.